Your gut says Miami is going to win and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With two former Super Contest winners, Brady Kannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Thanks for streaming us, watching us, however you are, as they say, consuming the show today. Thanks for being part of it. We're on every day, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Eastern, and we have a lot of football to touch on. Today's a very big day in the National Football League. There's cuts going on all across the league. They have a few hours to set their roster for the upcoming season. By the way, the NFL season begins next Thursday, but naturally college football picks back up on Thursday of this week as well. On this Labor Day weekend, some incredible matchups. We'll get some previews coming up in the sound off. We'll hear from James Franklin, the head coach of Penn State University. Also, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report will be with us on the program. We'll dive into the latest in the NFL with Matt Lutovsky and a whole lot more. But we got a lot to get to, so let's get started. Some very popular names in the NFL let go today. But first, we start off with a contract extension, and it is a mega one for CeeDee Lamb. He signs that 4-year contract extension that makes him the highest non-paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. At wide receiver, he is now the highest paid, hundreds of millions of dollars, of course, guaranteed. In fact, I believe the number is right at 100. And so Lamb will report to camp, and he will start playing for the Dallas Cowboys immediately. We'll see if this changes the trajectory for Jamar Chase, who is practicing but does not have a new contract, or even Brandon Ayuk, who we'll touch on in just a minute. Meanwhile, in the preseason, if you watch some of the games, you've noticed that they went to a digital first down marker, meaning that they could figure things out like the rest of the world using digital access technology. Not going to happen. Chain Gang is back. You're going to see them on the sidelines. I don't know why. This was reported last night, but I guess they just didn't like the way that it went in the preseason, and so the Chain Gang is out. You're going to see them on the field measuring for first downs once again. Also in the National Football League, ESPN reporting that a portion of the NFL franchises can be outsourced, or as we would say, sold to public investment funds. So get ready. A portion of your favorite National Football League team may be owned by somebody else. 10% is the number that Adam Schefter, as you see, put out here. And naturally, Saudi Arabia, will see if they get involved in some NFL franchises as well. As we mentioned, cut down day is today in the NFL. And several players who you may be familiar with their names have already been cut, and more are coming. Bailey Zappi, remember him? Played for the New England Patriots for a little bit last year when they figured out Mac Jones couldn't play. They've waived him. So he is out. They have a good starter, as they think they do, in Brissett. Backup in Drake May, or you can flip-flop those. Bailey Zappi is out. He'll get picked up by somebody else. Kendrick Bourne, also for the New England Patriots, going to start the season on the PUP list, so he's ineligible to play in the first 4 games. Patriots really up against it to start the season. Carolina Panthers make an interesting move today. Jonathan Brooks, who was thought to potentially be ready by week 1 or week 2, is not going to be. So he will start the season after drafting him on the physically unable to perform. The Panthers will not be using him in the first month of the season. Also, the Chiefs will keep pass rusher Charles Omenihu on the PUP list as well. He tore his ACL in the AFC title game last season. Also, other players we won't see in the first month, not a huge surprise. T.J. Hawkinson is going to be out for the first month with a torn ACL. He hurt that last year. The Browns released Siaka Ika, their 3rd-round pick just from last season. The New York Giants have decided to part ways with former Pro Bowler Allen Robinson and also wide receiver Isaiah Hodge. And Uchenna Nwosu has an MCL sprain, so the Seahawks have traded for Trevis Gibson. The Washington Commanders have also made news today. No, they're not changing their name back to the you-know-whats, but they do have new stadium rights. Northwest Stadium is the new Commanders' name for their stadium, and this is effective going into this season. So when the Commanders open up at home, you're going to see this as Northwest Stadium in the future. I got to get used to calling it that immediately. Connor Stalions, remember him? He was the one accused of stealing signs and being on the sideline on behalf of the University of Michigan, but doing it for somebody else. He has a Netflix special out right now saying that he did not obtain signals through in-person scouting. He made the claims in April during a video with NCAA investigators, and you can see it on Netflix if you want to watch it. It's called Sign Stealers. He said that he didn't direct anyone to go to a game. And basically, he's denying all involvement. You'll have to watch it to see for yourself if you believe him. The Big Ten has revealed the football tiebreakers for their 18-team conference. Here we go again. The tied teams will be compared based on head-to-head matchups. Makes sense if they tie. Tied teams will then be compared to record against all common conference opponents. Okay, sounds just like the SEC. And then from there, the tied teams will be compared based on record against common opponents with the best conference record and proceeding through the common conference opponents based on their order of finish with the conference standings. Did you get all that? Probably not. Read about it online would be my suggestion. Lane Kiffin has hired his brother to coach at Ole Miss, Chris. He's going to be joining them. They play Furman on Saturday. They're going to win, I would suppose. Georgia's running back Roderick Robinson has been injured. No word, by the way, on Trevor Etienne if they're going to play him. And they play against Clemson in the first game of Saturday's big slate of college football. That's a noon Eastern kickoff Saturday. Bryce Harper walked off yesterday for the Philadelphia Phillies. Josh Hader takes the loss. RBI single in the 10th inning as they beat the Astros by a final of 3-2. Some feel this is a potential World Series preview. Remains to be seen. Phillies get game 1 there. Cubs swipe 8 bags yesterday, 21 hits over the Pirates, 18-8 the final. 8 stolen bases is their most in 100 years as the Cubs are trying to hang on for the playoffs. They'll face off with Paul Skeens and the Pirates again today. The Cardinals have placed Wilson Contreras on the injured list. They're hoping he will return this season. It's the second time that he was placed on the injured list. He broke a finger after being hit with a pitch last week. And Danny Jansen made his debut again yesterday for the same team, or I should say a different team in the same box score, and ended up the game. Remember, he was that guy who caught one game in June and now played with a different team in August. Same box score, 2 different teams, in case you missed it. All right, the U.S. Open. Tennis is underway. Let's get to the very latest. There's a new seating policy, by the way, that allows fans to sit wherever they want. Imagine that. And right now, it's sort of a little bit different, I think, under this new policy, with people with tickets at certain sections can move all the way down on courts 8 and 16 wherever they want during play. And so they don't have to just wait during matches when they're in between timeouts and things like that. Novak Djokovic opened up his bid for a 25th Grand Slam win with an easy win. He defeated Radu Albat 6-2, 6-4, 6-2 on Monday night. Djokovic is the 2nd seed going into the U.S. Open. Coco Gauff also started her title defense with a win as well. She wins 6-2, 6-0. Also, 16-year-old American Eva Jokic wins opening U.S. round match as well. She's 16 years old. She beat Magdalene Linette 6-4, 6-3. Sports betting news. DraftKings is now officially open for business in Wisconsin. A brand new deal was just signed upon and approved, and they will launch in Wisconsin this week at the Flambeau Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians, Lake of the Torches Resort Casino. If you live there, you probably know where this is. I have no idea, but it's a cool name to say. Caitlin Clark and the Fever beat the Dream 84-79 yesterday. Kelsey Mitchell scored 29 points. The New York Liberty back in the win column after a tough loss over the weekend, 84-70. They end up defeating the Mercury. And the Washington Mystics beat the Storm yesterday. They win outright. They were 10.5-point underdogs in their game in the WNBA there. So we're watching all of the news in the National Football League. Naturally, some big names are on the chopping block at this point. As we mentioned, a former Pro Bowler, Allen Robinson, who played at such a high level for such a long time. It just simply didn't work out once he left the Bears. You have to wonder if his career is over. He was let go today. And also many other players will be cut, let go, and traded as well. And so while we're not rooting for this, we will keep a close eye on all of the players changing places. They still have several hours to get their rosters down to 53, but many teams in the National Football League actually have to let go of 25, 30 players today. So we'll keep an eye on that for you throughout the day. And, of course, on Pharrell Coast to Coast, if anything significant happens, he'll give you the latest on that as well. Matt Lutovsky joins us next here on the show. We'll talk about CeeDee Lamb and the rest of the wide receiving drama in the NFL.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Welcome back to NewsWire. It is cut down day in the NFL. As we mentioned, we'll update these along the way. A couple of quarterbacks let go, looking for other places. Looks like Brett Rippon, according to NFL Network, let go by the Bears. He was their third string. Nathan Peterman let go by the Raiders. He was their third string as well, so we'll see if they land in other spots. But we know where the future of the Dallas Cowboys lies at wide receiver. CeeDee Lamb got paid. Let's bring in Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. And Matt, it just seems like cooler heads prevailed here. I mean, this is one of those rare players in the NFL that a team has to have in order to be competitive. And I know you could look around the league and you could say the same thing about Minnesota with Jefferson, right? But let's just be honest, Minnesota's in a different spot than the Dallas Cowboys were. So smart move by Dallas. And by the way, their hand was forced. They had to do this.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, obviously every team in the NFL wants a guy like CeeDee Lamb, but when you already have him, you can't lose him. So the Cowboys kind of did, I think, what was expected. We see this all the time where a guy, doesn't play in the preseason and holds out or holds in this case. And then, a week before the season, 2 weeks before the season, he gets his big contract. So, yeah, this was sort of inevitable. And, I think they wanted to wait until Justin Jefferson signed to sort of set that market. It was, I'm sure CeeDee Lamb thinks he's better than Justin Jefferson, but it seemed as if it was sort of agreed upon at some point by someone that, all right, Justin Jefferson's going to be the top guy, then CeeDee Lamb, and so on. So he slotted in just barely below him and got his big deal that, at least based on how these contracts work out, he deserved.
Yeah, and could be the highest paid of all at the end if that ends up playing out, but, we'll see. Okay, so Ja'Marr Chase is back in camp, apparently. I saw some posts on social media, and he's still without a deal. So I think, Matt, the hard part about all of this is it feels like you get drafted, and once you do and you accept your rookie contract, you have, like, no leverage, Like, your only leverage is basically your team playing bad without you. So, Chase is still another year away further out than CeeDee Lamb was to get paid, but I just don't know what leverage he has. I mean, I guess he'll have to do this all over again at the end of the year, right?
Yeah, exactly. This is the same thing that's going to happen next year. And it's possible that Cincinnati just says, you know what, we're going to make you the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, because he will be the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL when he does sign. And we know what Justin Jefferson, so we're going to bump it up a little bit above that, and here's your contract. And Ja'Marr Chase, I mean, look, even if he went out and tore his ACL, he'd still get his money. It's almost impossible for him not to become the highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, or at least one of the top three. So, in a way, he almost can't hurt himself going out there playing. And I think he's going to get his money regardless. It's just a matter of, do you wish you could force the hand, lock it in right now? Well, sure, who wouldn't? But ultimately next year there might be more money waiting for him on the other side if he just goes out, does what he does, has another year like last year. Cincinnati does well, and there's more money to go around for everyone. So Ja'Marr Chase is going to be fine either way. And it'll just be really interesting. I mean, he's I suppose you could say he's motivated, but these guys always are until they get that first big contract. And it hopefully will be a smooth process, and they won't have to go through a Brandon Ayuk situation or something next season.
Yeah, and that's still going on, by the way, despite a million different false reports over the last month of different things on social media. I've never seen poorer reporter in the NFL than what's going on with Ayuk. Chase, by the way, is 10-1 to lead the league in receiving yards. It kind of to me, Matt, I'm here to tell you we could probably have an opinion on all of these players leading the league. My opinion here is it's a guess, because I think it's going to come down to injuries with this. Whoever plays the most games on that list that you just saw there, I think is going to lead the league in receiving.
Yeah, for sure. And look, I mean, you start getting into things like, well, are they going to play Week 18? Does their team need them to play? Like, that could be the difference between who leads the league in receiving yards or not. But Ja'Marr Chase certainly as good of a bet as any of those guys. I think he led the league in receptions last year. He's a great target for Joe Burrow. We know they have a great connection, whether it's on deep balls, whether it's on intermediate passes. So, yeah, he's as good as anyone on that list. I think sort of pertaining to what you said, if I was going to make a bet on this right now, I would say, well, which one of these top guys has the best odds? Give me him, because it is a coin flip. And I think that it's not a ton of better value, but it's a little bit better value, and they're all great. So it's good. I mean, wide receiver is definitely the glamour position in the NFL. Quarterbacks, we know they're going to get the glory. They're going to get the bigger contracts. But wide receivers, I think in a lot of ways are more fun, and they're having a moment right now for sure.
Yeah. So today's cut down day, you heard me mention a couple of quarterbacks. So, a few names we're familiar with. The really intriguing ones usually happen right before that deadline later this afternoon. I saw Carolina. They're not going to be good anyway, but they placed one of their running backs that they drafted on the PUP list. Anything surprising thus far? I really haven't seen that yet, Matt, but I'm sure usually this day does have a lot of drama once we get through it.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything too surprising. I guess that, what the Broncos are going to do with a couple veterans in Samaje Perine and Tim Patrick, who, Tim Patrick didn't play last year. Samaje Perine's a backup. But nonetheless, those are, I think, real veteran players who can help a team. And I think they're trying to facilitate trades right now. It won't yield much in return. But it could really be interesting where those guys go. It could be that little last-minute wrench that maybe shakes up the middle or later rounds of a fantasy draft. Perine's especially interesting to me if he goes to a place like Dallas, where it is a little bit of an unsettled running back room. You have Ezekiel Elliott at the top, which is a nice name, but there's still a lot of intrigue about how carries are going to be divvied up and who's going to last all year. So he'll be an interesting one to watch. To me, one of the most as of right now.
Yeah, I saw that report of Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, it looks like he's in great shape. I don't know if he can play anymore in the NFL.
It's a fantasy all-star team from 2019 with him and Zeke.
To think Dalvin Cook 2 years ago, I think was a first-round pick in fantasy football. Yeah. Now done. It just shows you Gurley, same thing. This happens all the time at running backs. All right, great stuff, Matt. We'll talk next week ahead of the first week of the NFL season. Thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it.
All right, speaking of fantasy football, coming up, Logan Glover will tell us if Christian McCaffrey is your number one pick in fantasy football. That's next.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We've got a great college football preview coming up. Great games this Saturday. We'll preview a little Penn State, West Virginia, also hit on some National Football League. And for those of you getting ready for your fantasy football drafts this Labor Day weekend, you may want to stay tuned. It's time for the SportsGrid Sound Off. Well, for the first time in a number of years, the Big Ten has one team that's potentially favored to make some noise in the conference this season, named Penn State University. I know, it's been a bit. It's been a while. But the Nittany Lions are right at the top near Ohio State as one of the teams that could come out of the conference, with Michigan taking a little bit of a step back. Again, 18 teams now in the conference as well. But the first game of the season for Penn State will be this Saturday against West Virginia. And, of course, with a lot of higher rankings come higher expectations. Head coach James Franklin is happy where the team is at and ready to go on Saturday.
But training camp was good. It was competitive. It was physical. It was tough, like it was designed to be. And, now we're in a position, I think, over the last week and a half, we've cut back to make sure that the guys feel good, that their bodies feel good, and that their legs are back. And now getting into a traditional game week.
Full preview of college football today coming up this Saturday with Ben Stevens, Joe Lisi, and the crew right here on SportsGrid. Meanwhile, fantasy football preview weekend is here. I'll be with you Saturday morning, Joe Pisapia and Matt Stryker Sunday morning. We've got a Labor Day show too as well. Most of you are going to do your fantasy football drafts in the next few days. So if for some reason you have the number one overall pick in fantasy football, it seems pretty easy to me. You just take Christian McCaffrey and go about your business. But our social media correspondent today, Logan Glover, says there may be some other options.
It's no secret that the player drafted first overall in fantasy football is almost never the best player at their position the following season. With CMC being the consensus top player in fantasy, who should we expect to actually take the RB1 role if history repeats itself? Well, look no further than Breece Hall. Hall finished last year as the RB7 despite taking 4 weeks to ramp up to a full workload. From weeks 5 on, he was the RB2, and from weeks 14 on, he was the overall RB1. This year, he's coming into the season fully healthy, and it should have a healthy Aaron Rodgers to provide more support. With Rodgers healthy, not only will it potentially give Hall more receiving work, it will also force the defense to respect the pass game more this season, leaving more opportunity for big run plays to break out for Hall. So, not only is Hall a good bet for the RB1 in fantasy this year, he's also a sleeper pick for Offensive Player of the Year, sitting at plus 2,000 on FanDuel.
I think Breece Hall may be my pick at the number 3 spot that I have coming up next week. But I think if I got number 1, I'm going to stick with Christian McCaffrey starting off the season. So we'll see. I'll tell you what I end up doing. My draft is Monday night. We have no show here on Labor Day, by the way. So on Tuesday, I'll tell you what I ended up doing. All right, New York Giants. Yeah, that has been one team that's taken some heat in the preseason. They haven't looked particularly good, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But, it was funny when Brian Daboll took over as head coach of the Giants, got off to a really good start. Looked like the Giants were, headed in the right direction. Daboll talking to the media about the first game for them coming up for the season and just how important good starts are in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at what you did the year before, where it was whatever the start was, fast start versus. Again, the most important thing is playing well and coaching well. You try to do, make adjustments each year. We've talked about that every year and do what you think is right for the team. But, yeah, certainly you have an eye on the start of the season. But, again, the fundamentals and things like that. Again, the year we started when we first got here was different than the second year. This year is different than the third year. So the biggest thing is, playing well, coaching well, doing everything you can do, leaving no stone unturned to try to get out to the best start you can.
Not a lot of optimism surrounding the Giants like there are the Jets this season, but you never know. It's the NFL. Some team comes out of nowhere every year to be really good. Houston was that team last year. All right, you want to know who that team will be this year? Here's what you do. You download the SportsGrid app, check out what our hosts have to say and our analysts have to say. Take out your phone, scan that QR code. It's absolutely free for iOS and Android. It is the SportsGrid app. News, notes, information, picks against the spread, videos, commentary, everything you could possibly ask for. And by the way, folks, here's the best news about it. It is free, Free. Just download it right there. It is the SportsGrid app available right now. We'll take a quick time out here on the show. Up next, we've got Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, an updated lawsuit involving DraftKings, and is the National Football League doing enough to curb gambling among their players? We'll tell you next. Stay with us here on the Grid. We'll be right back.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Sam McQuillan is with us from Legal Sports Report. We'll dive into the latest National Football League responsible gambling news. Again, the league is trying to curb the illegal sports betting and their own players betting on different things. We'll dive into what the rules are this year so we understand them going into the season. But first, let's bring in Sam. You know, Sam, we heard about this last week, that DraftKings, there was this lawsuit that was potentially going to be filed about some deceptive bonuses that they were offering. Tell us more about the story here and if the lawsuit indeed is going to continue.
Yeah, Craig, this is actually just one of a couple DraftKings lawsuits that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. Just today, you had some news come out about the NFL Players Association suing over the NFT Rainmaker marketplace, which is now offline. But this story is actually in Massachusetts, like you referred to, deceptive marketing, deceptive advertising, if you want to put it that way. This one group is essentially saying that the $1,000 sign-up offer that you have when you go on DraftKings basically misleads people. It gets them to sign up to the sportsbook, and then they can't figure out how to get the money. So essentially, it's accomplishing their plan of attracting customers without actually having to shell out the money. This group, the Public Health Advocacy Institute, details in its lawsuit about these onerous playthrough requirements where you have to initially deposit $5,000 to even become eligible, then play through it about $25,000 worth of bets within 90 days to then get your $1,000 credit, which is non-refundable. So this group is really targeting this bonus. It's not just in Massachusetts. It's been in a lot of these other more recent states that have legalized sports betting. And the latest development is that now the case is going to be allowed to move to the discovery phase, which is really important. The court came out and said, DraftKings, we hear why you want us to dismiss the case, but we're not going to buy your argument. We're going to allow it to proceed. And why that's so important is because in the discovery phase, that's when this group is going to be able to press the executives at DraftKings for information on the bonus, how many people were able to sign up, what those numbers look like, which is really interesting because we rarely get information from the companies about who's actually using the bonuses, who's qualifying. We get in their earnings reports, hey, this is how much we spent on customer acquisition. This is how many new customers we acquired. And you've seen over the past couple of years, that trend has gone better for the companies. They've been spending less and acquiring more customers. Now, is that because they've been able to deceive customers like this group is alleging here? We'll have to see if that's been the case. It could be a number of other reasons, but really interesting and could have a big impact on the broader industry as well, especially because this group is one that took down big tobacco in the 1980s. So they're kind of looking at this as sort of their watershed moment for gambling. But the wheels of justice grind slowly, so we're going to have to wait till December for the next development in the case.
Yeah, at the very earliest, I would say, based on that. All right, so we're going into the NFL season. We saw suspensions with sports betting being legal coming, especially, I thought, about a year ago, where a couple of players were suspended and a couple, banned from the NFL. So now there's new training involved, Sam. What does this involve as far as, like, monitoring the players to make sure they're doing the right thing?
Yeah, it was sort of surprising that the NFL came out and said, hey, this is the first time we're going to have in-person mandatory training for all 32 teams where the coaches, player staff, everyone will be in one room while this training happens, talking about gambling awareness, have these several principles like don't bet on the NFL, don't have someone bet on your behalf, a proxy betting situation, don't share inside information with anybody, don't gamble while you're at a team facility or while you're traveling for work, which we've seen some players and coaches get in trouble for in the past. Don't enter a sports book during the season, and don't play daily fantasy football games like Prize Picks, games like Yahoo Fantasy. So all core tenets that have been part of the program for a while, but this is going to be the first time that they have everyone in one room, and it's mandatory for everyone to go through this training together, which they hope will inspire more questions, more engagement. They're going to have former players at this training as well. A lot of people are kind of surprised that this wasn't required already. The NFL came out and sort of clarified that, hey, we've had all types of gambling awareness training mandatory for a very long time. This is just sort of a new added layer we're putting on this. And this is the first offseason. We've almost made a full offseason without any major gambling suspensions. In the NFL, last year we had about 10 or 11. So it's a big change. Obviously, you've seen all those policies and all those suspensions handed down. Maybe that's encouraging players. Maybe the NFL is just getting better at this kind of stuff. So they're doing more. It's obviously they always want to tout that they're doing more. They've come out and said that, threats towards players are up slightly. Some of that having to do with sports betting, some of it having to do with other factors as well. So it's something they're taking very seriously. They talked about all the game day monitoring that they do. They have these different agents tasked to every team, which we had never heard about before. So they're really taking gambling seriously, at least so they say, and would expect more and more kind of in this direction as the season approaches. And they cross their fingers for no gambling suspensions this year.
Yeah, and responsible gaming is always very important, and it's just a matter of the NFL enforcing this. And it does look like quite a bit of money is being spent, Sam, to try and stop this. I mean, the NFL is worth billions and billions and billions of dollars, so they certainly have the money to do it, but at least we're seeing that there is a council involved, that they are making the effort to try and do so.
Yeah, the NFL has had this relationship with the National Council on Problem Gambling pretty much ever since sports betting started to spread to other states in 2018, 2019, when the Supreme Court repealed PASPA. And they this past week, they renewed their commitment for an extra 3 years, assigning $6.4 million to this organization, which is in charge of the National Gambling Helpline. They're the main gambling harm prevention advocate nationally. They work with a lot of, inner cities on gambling awareness training. They work with Congress on legislation. They work with different states. So they're essentially the big organization that represents this. And actually the biggest commitment in their history was the previous one that the NFL gave. So now the NFL is kind of breaking its record and giving more money here. That money is going to be used to modernize the National Gambling Helpline. A lot of states have very specific helplines where if you call a certain number, you need to get rerouted to a different state. There's different numbers in different states. So they have a 1-800-GAMBLER number, which kind of unites everything there. And they're going to use a lot of the money, too, to create programs in underserved communities where people are maybe more, inclined to be exposed to the risks of gambling. Maybe, young athletes are more inclined to be, someone come to, obfuscate or mess with them or try to get them to manipulate a game in some way. So that's going to kind of be the focus of the money here in terms of the National Gambling Helpline prevention, and then also creating a program for these underserved communities. So a good example for the rest of the leagues to follow, I would say.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, Sam, enjoy the rest of the week. We'll talk again soon ahead of the NFL season. Thanks for coming on.
Yep. Thanks, Greg. You too.
All right, Sam McQuillan with us here on NewsWire. By the way, you can read all about the stories that we talk about here on the show on a daily basis over at LegalSportsReport.com. Coming up next, Brady Kannon joins us as he's getting ready for Week 1 of the National Football League. A little bit over 1 week away. We'll preview the Ravens and Chiefs and also get into everything happening in the National Football League. Also, a couple of cuts to tell you about in the NFL, more quarterbacks being let go. Backup quarterback for the Detroit Lions, Nate Sudfeld, has been waived. So that means Hendon Hooker looks like he is the backup going into the season there. Lots of other action going on in the NFL. Cuts. This is the final day that teams can do it to get down to the end. Bailey Zappe's been let go by the New England Patriots. It feels like the quarterbacks right now are the ones that they're deciding on. And I suppose teams look at it, and the way that they do is that if we're going to pay for a backup quarterback, we may as well go on the cheaper side and maybe bring one of these guys back on the practice squad. I'm not really sure. But either way, we'll have more updates for you throughout the day. All right, so let's take a quick time out here on the show. Up next, as I said, Brady Kannon joins us. He's got a brand new podcast here on SportsGrid, which will tell you each and every week about the different contests going on in Las Vegas and some picks as well. But for now, we preview the games next week here on NewsWire. So we'll be back right after this with Brady.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Golf season is wrapping up. NFL season is getting ready to get started. Brady Cannon's got his eyes on both. We'll see if we can hit both here on the show. Brady, great to have you back here on NewsWire. And look, I mean, we're almost here for the NFL season. Naturally, college is underway and some huge games this weekend, by the way. A lot of fun there. But, Thursday night next week, Friday night next week, Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, Monday night. We got a lot of football ready to go here
Here we go. Yeah, it kind of kicks off this weekend right here in Las Vegas with LSU and USC. You mentioned the college football season underway. I'm fired up for that. The golf season winding down. Unfortunately, this last event is kind of a dud for me, the Tour Championship. You know, the Tour Championship is supposed to be for all the marbles, and it's just anticlimactic. I like Xander. I think he's going to get it done. He's really a horse for this course. But, yeah, we're transitioning to football for sure, and we're all fired up here. Like you mentioned there before you went to break, Craig, the contest show that we've got here airing on SportsGrid, contest season is in the air in a fever pitch here in Las Vegas. So, yeah, it's all coming together for the NFL to get started.
Yeah, and a great game to start with on Thursday night. Of course, the Chiefs are going to open up in the first game of the season. 3-point favorites, though. That's not a lot over the Baltimore Ravens in game one. And look, if this was a Super Bowl, I think it'd be pretty easy to just say, grab your money line in the Chiefs and go about your business. But it is the first week of the season. Do you have any position early on the Chiefs or Ravens or the total in this?
I have not made a bet yet on this game, and I'm not sure if I will. I think there are some games I like a little better so far in week one. But there are some 2.5s out there still, and quite a few of them really, Craig. If you're going to bet this game, I prefer the Chiefs side, but don't make a bad bet and lay the 3. I think there are 2.5s you can find, and maybe you'll find another 2.5 before we get closer to game time. I think the Ravens are actually going to regress this season. You look at what they did. I mean, that game, the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs, was one of the worst game plans I've ever seen. Everybody in the entire world knew that the Ravens, with their 4th best rushing attack in the NFL, going against the 28th worst run defense in the NFL, were going to run the ball down the Chiefs' throats, right? No. Monken decides to get cute and try and throw the ball 60, 70% of the time. How'd that work out? And now you lose a lot of offensive starters and depth on that offensive line. I think wide receiver is still an issue. You know, Lamar Jackson, for the first time in a while, started every game that meant something for the Ravens last year. Now, you hope that happens again, but will it? It has not necessarily been the case in years past. And then you look at also some of the numbers for the Ravens. They were plus 12 in turnover margin, plus 19 in sack margin, and plus 4 in penalty margin. Those things typically regress towards the mean. Yep. Derrick Henry, it looks fun. It looks fancy on paper, but he's also 30 years old. He ain't what he used to was. I think things slip for the Baltimore Ravens. And we usually see this where the Chiefs beat you when it counts, but then, their opponent returns the favor in the regular season. I'd lay the 2.5 if I could find it here with Kansas City. I think they improve, actually, Craig. I think last year was the year to get the Chiefs. You think about it, there was a time 6-8 weeks left in the season where they didn't look very good at all, right? Yeah. And I think they're going to be better this year.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Maybe Lamar Jackson didn't play in a game, but is that right? That the Chiefs haven't played the Ravens in the regular season since 21? Is that accurate? It seems like a long time.
I don't know if that's correct, but it feels like the Ravens beat them a few years ago, and it probably was 21 with Lamar Jackson. And they played, I want to say, game 1, game 2, game 3. It was very early in the season, and I think the Ravens got them in a real tight one. But I think the tables will be turned here. Kansas City, I talked about some of the numbers for the Ravens. Kansas City not only made the playoffs, but won the Super Bowl, being minus 11 in turnover margin and minus 23 in penalty margin. That's amazing. And you figure that's got to improve this coming season.
Yeah, it flips a little bit at the very least. Those numbers are usually what regresses to the mean, as you said. All right, how do you handicap these overseas games? Because there's really no way of telling. Sometimes these games aren't even talent-based. We just saw this past week, Georgia Tech beat FSU outright as a huge dog in Ireland. I'm sure that had something to do with it. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites because they have the better roster, I guess, but not by a lot. Green Bay played fantastic down the stretch last year. Eagles played horrendous down the stretch last year. Total of 48.5. Game in Brazil, different body clock. All those things are in the handicap, I suppose, for next Friday night.
Yeah, I used to stay away from the London games, 100%. And now it's become such commonplace in the NFL that you have to, sometimes throw out the question mark about travel. Now, this one's obviously different, going to Brazil. And I think it is a factor. But, just handicapping the game on paper and taking that out of the equation, the Eagles have taken some money here. I believe they were just a 1-point favorite not that long ago, and now they've gone to 2.5. And I would kind of treat this one the same way, Craig. If I can lay less than a field goal, I would be on the favorite here. And I think it's a very similar reasoning. I think the Eagles are bound to improve off of that second half of the season last year where they were really awful. You look at some of their numbers. They have Saquon in. They have Vic Fangio in. They add draft choices. I think the defense will be improved. Their net rest edge in the schedule goes from 25th. They had a brutal rest advantage on the schedule last year. They go from 25th in the league this year to 2nd. And then their fumble luck. The year before, when they went to the Super Bowl, their fumble luck was 11th. They regressed last year to 22nd. I think all that sets them up for improvement this year, and I think they get started with a win here. Green Bay, I think one thing that's going to regress for sure is they were incredibly efficient in the red zone. I think that will fall off. On the flip side, I think their defense gets better. They add a new coordinator. They draft very heavy on the defensive side. But their schedule gets more difficult this year. They play a number of better offensive teams this year. I think Green Bay remains about neutral with what they did last year. I think Philadelphia improves. I'd lay the 2.5 in game 1.
When's the first podcast launch? When does it start?
Well, it launched last Friday, and episode number 2 is this Friday, and every Friday thereafter for the rest of the season.
All right, thanks, Brady. I got to download it. Have a great week.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
SportsGrid, the only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Before we get out of here, we're going to touch on a number of different TV topics here on the show today. Not something I normally do, but we're going to do it today. It's time now for some last licks. All right, we get started with a little Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin, never afraid to post anything on social media. Lane Kiffin posts a story from ESPN yesterday. I don't know if you saw this. How Ohio State built a $20 million national championship or bust roster. I guess Mississippi is not giving out $20 million in NIL deals, but Lane not afraid to do anything on social media. And people forget that Lane was the head coach of the Raiders. He was also coach of Florida Atlantic University. He's having a lot of success at Mississippi, and he simply is just not afraid to get into it on social media yesterday. Now, if you read the story, what you see is that Ryan Day and the University of Ohio State University has handed out approximately $20 million to build the perfect NIL roster, which is more than most schools in all of college football. I'm guessing more than Mississippi because Lane Kiffin put this up as well. We'll see if it ends up working for Ohio State, but it's basically what Michigan did, and Ohio State's trying to do the same exact thing. All right, over the weekend, I don't know if you caught this, but I did, and then I forgot to bring it up here on the show yesterday, but I'm going to now. We've got a renewal of the show Ted Lasso on Apple TV, arguably one of the most popular shows on Apple TV ever. Now, Apple TV has not been around for, a decade. It's only been a handful of years. But Ted Lasso, one of the better shows. For those of you who've never seen the show, it's about Jason Sudeikis going overseas, going to England as a college football coach and then becoming a soccer coach. And every season, by the way, of this show has actually been good. A lot of times when these shows progress and they get into season 2, 3, 4, they're really not as good. But the interesting note here is that they have commitments from all of the starting cast going back into the next year. If you remember a few months ago in different interviews with the cast members, they said that it was all up to Jason Sudeikis as to whether or not he wanted to come back and do the show again, and he decided to do it. So that's really good news, I think, for fans of Ted Lasso and fans of Apple TV as well. I'll be watching that as well. How about this one? An upcoming one-on-one interview, and this is going to be done with none other than Larry David. Why are we featuring this on NewsWire? Well, he's going to do an interview one-on-one in Denver, Colorado, and the person who is conducting the interview is Peyton Manning. How about this combination in Denver, Colorado? Now, you may ask, why is this all happening? Well, of course, Manning, a huge fan of Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm. Larry David, as many people know, is a huge sports fan. So you put the two together, and you have a pretty cool event going on in Colorado. If you are there, they're going to be taking the stage later this year. No Curb Your Enthusiasm, by the way, in the future. That thing has been retired. But so is Peyton Manning. So is Larry David. The two will be together. Pretty cool story. All right, that'll do it for the show today. Now, look, a lot happening in the NFL. A lot's going to change between now and 4 p.m. Eastern, so make sure you're with us all day long. Kaplan and crew, 1 p.m. Eastern. They have you covered for the latest on roster cuts in the NFL, followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast. I'll be on with Scott later today talking some baseball. Game time decisions at 6 p.m. Eastern, followed by in-game live primetime, and then Gabe tonight on Sports Rage. Want to thank our guest contributors, as always, to the show today. Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report. Also, thanks to Brady Kannon, and also Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. So make sure you stick with us throughout the rest of the week. We're going to preview a lot of college football coming up later in the week. My buddy Rich Waltz is going to join us here on the show. We'll preview the big game between UCLA and Hawaii. Mike Berardino has a look at Notre Dame and Texas A&M. Lots more guests, lots more football previews all throughout the week exclusively here on NewsWire. So I hope you enjoy the rest of your day here on, of course, SportsGrid. Make sure you tune back in tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern for our next edition of the show. And if you're into fantasy football, don't forget this weekend our Fantasy Football Spectacular, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, all throughout Labor Day weekend, as we have you covered, who you should be picking first, second, third, etc. Everything that you could possibly ask for. I am picking third in my fantasy football draft. Still undecided, I think. Everyone makes so much about the first couple of picks. It's really what you do later in the draft, I think, than what it is earlier in the draft. But that's what we talk about. So we got you covered. And then, as I mentioned, I'll tell you who I end up taking next week. All right, have a great rest of your day. See you tomorrow here on NewsWire.